Hey, this is Notser, and I gotta talk about stuff. The comments definitely need to be discussed. Second video of the day, sorry. So where do I begin? Who is Notser? I am a 28-year-old art graduate who was going to be a game developer, applied, saw that I had to compete with senior level experience for entry-level positions, and I said, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to do anything there. So I tried freelancing. Did a little bit. I did a couple PlanetSide 2 stuff. I really was excited for PlanetSide 2, but anyone who's familiar with it, it didn't succeed. We had developers who had such great wisdom as developing esport maps for a massively multiplayer online first-person shooter. This is a game where 200-300 people compete for territory, for a base, and they expected to shrink it down to 10, 20, 30, 40 man per side. Oh yes, they were absolutely on crack. Extremely stupid decision. So you could see the writing on the wall. You can't come back from a lot of wasted expenditures, especially when you're starting to grow a game, and yeah, you could see it. It was going to fail. So I departed from freelance content creation for that to considering doing YouTube, because YouTube is cool. You know, being on YouTube is really awesome. So I was like, yeah, let's do YouTube. And what am I good at? Well, I'm good at games. I'm good at communicating. I can do something to teach players and people about a game or something like that. That's what it felt like, a potential endeavor. And I was looking for a game to do. And I was playing tons of World of Warcraft, but I didn't want to do World of Warcraft. There's tons of content creators out there doing World of Warcraft, and I don't do World of Warcraft hardcore enough. I don't get into every nook and cranny. I just play to tank. I like tanking, but I don't give a crap about doing all the dailies and doing all the chores that really grind my gears with a game like that. So that wasn't appropriate. And I did World of Warships because it was the next game coming out. Quite literally, that's why I'm doing World of Warships to this very day. It was the next game coming out, and I felt like, yeah, okay, I can cover that. I like history. I don't really care about ships. I don't really care about any of this stuff. Is the game fun? That was my only criteria, and it was. I enjoyed it. I could see the potential. I liked how the torpedo was really good against the battleship, how the fast rate of fire of the cruisers was really good against the destroyer, and the battleship main armament was super solid against a cruiser. I really enjoyed that, and the aircraft carrier was pretty solid against isolated targets. So I picked it up and I talked about it. You know, those early videos, they're rough. They are really rough. Bad audio, bad visual, you know, bad everything. And over time, you improve. I mean, you make video every day. Of course, you're going to improve. And that's where we are right now. And my shtick was basically commentate a game and communicate what I was doing in the game, to the point where I would talk about what I was thinking, what I felt like, what I predicted would happen. And I would share my build, and that was my whole thing. I did that for years. Oh my god, I did the exact same style video for years. And that works, but that really isn't enough. If you like that content, that's what Twitch is. Play the game 15 hours a week and run through a bunch of different ships. YouTube is really for discussing topics that are important, trying to improve the play of one aspect of maybe a class or a ship or whatever. Type, sorry, God, it's World of Warcraft. And I don't really care if it's a class or type. I know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, I can't just make a commentary that doesn't give enough back to the community. People aren't going to want to watch that. Viewership drops off. They're not interested in that. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. If you like that, that's great. I'm really happy for you. But you see it. You see all the other YouTubers who do this stuff. They don't really do commentary of a game all that often anymore. It just... People don't want to watch the same thing year after year. And that's completely fine. And you want people to fall in love or be entertained by you. Not just that you will show a game of yourself, not your skill, but you the person, you the entertainer, you the teacher. That's what I want people to be interested in. So it's a natural expression of a individual to try and get you to like or appreciate my opinion on the direction of the game. I've always talked about the game's direction, but my god, I've always... Oh, the rank season, all that stuff. People were like, get back to the old Notser where you didn't do anything except commentate. You've got rose-tinted lenses there. I have never exclusively commentated. I've always talked about issues with the game, all that stuff. Survivability expert, stealth firing mechanics, Japanese torpedoes, aircraft carriers. God, I've talked about so many issues with the game. But probably my mistake was having an opinion that is counter to the majority of World Warships. Now, where does that opinion stem from? Well, I played the game a lot. I've seen classes rise and fall. And it is frustrating to see a class that, I mean, a type, God. I'm always going to do that. A type that is seemingly immune to those changes. Now let's just chronicle all the changes that have occurred over time. Now, some people say the Battleship is supposed to be the most powerful. And I would say, where the hell are you grabbing that from? Oh, historical. Look at the loadout. By that logic, aircraft carriers should be the most powerful. And they were at one time. They would absolutely 100-0 a battleship in a blink of an eye. The 2 torpedo squadron for the Midway was legendary in its power. And did the player base like that? Well, no, I don't think anyone likes dying 100-0 without any response capable. But doesn't that sound very familiar to scenarios that occur to this very day? That sounds like pretty much every other type. Cruiser, play it perfectly, dies to 3 random dispersed shells into the Citadel because it's a country mile. You've got the Destroyer. The Destroyer can die to aircraft carrier squadrons, just like, that's why they didn't want the Graf Zeppelin. They felt like the Graf Zeppelin could literally kill every DD all the time. It was so easy. Beyond the fact that it had super high alpha, it just had no effort whatsoever to kill DDs with the torpedo, so they probably felt like, you know, it's a little too much. Yeah, sure, you'll get this random RNG moment where dive bombers or detonations. I'm not counting detonations because that's just a fun and engaging game mechanic. But you have aircraft carriers. Aircraft carriers can absolutely get screwed. If they're bottom tier, good luck. Good luck playing that game. Everything's going to die. I'm sure the tier 8 aircraft carrier doesn't enjoy going after the tier 10s with their uber AA and basically no potential to do any damage, right? So there's so many instances where classes and types, there's so many instances where the type is given no ability to counter or use skill to overcome scenarios. But there is absolutely a type that basically gets all of those scenarios removed. Those uncomfortable scenarios. You've got hydroacoustic on an entire line to protect themselves from torpedoes. You've got the ability to use radar on the Missouri. They wanted to put it on the Conqueror and the Lion. Speaking of British battleships, HE that doesn't care about angling. the lowered citadel. You know, you could basically not citadel British, American, and Germans. I mean, what's the deal? I really have a difficult time defending the type. It's really challenging. When you list it off and you compare it to all the other classes, all the things they have to deal with, stealth firing removed. You've got, obviously, the American aircraft carriers were butchered. Beyond that, being a low tier, they adding in advanced firing training, they make it a little bit easier to take. You've got manual AA as well. There's so many things they've added in the game that make it really difficult to succeed in the aircraft carrier consistently, especially if people know you exist. And we've got the cruiser, right? The cruiser also lost out with stealth firing. The cruiser doesn't even do HE as good as the battleship. So why would I pick anything other than a battleship? A lot of times, right? You know, I would probably, if I could, I would pick an aircraft carrier. Half of my team would be a battleship, and it would be a different type of battleship. You know, one with hydro, Americans with AA, maybe the British for HE, and then I would have maybe 2 or 3 token destroyers, maybe American destroyers, so they can lay smoke for those battleships. And I would be really, really curious to see if that team would have issues going up against a more balanced approach, right? My entire point, if all the other types have to deal with very little reaction time available, 100 to 0 deaths, battleships would have to deal with it too. No, 30 or 40 seconds in the water, torpedoes is not the same thing. You can read to react, hydro, aircraft, vigilance. There's a lot of tools, target acquisition to make you immune to that, and the other classes just can't do that. I don't think that's controversial, but based on the comments, I don't know which is more controversial. My opinion on battleships or the way I chose to commentate the comments. I wouldn't expect someone who enjoys hyperanalyzing to appreciate someone who dislikes hyperanalyzing. I wouldn't hold that against you. But I think that stems from the world we live in, where we're just living in the moment. Next 24 hours, nothing else matters. Spoiler alert, Earth's going to spin on. This game's going to exist in a year, whether we like it or not. And I found humor in that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that's not funny to you. It's funny to me as someone who's outside looking in. I just could not care less about social media and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, YouTube comments. I love that you guys ask questions, but I really don't care what Marsh is doing tomorrow. You know, call me crazy. So, another aspect that I found kind of humorous is when I was doing my H voice. Well, Notser, you can press H, and you get access to your main battery firing while in smoke. That was wargaming. I said probably 2 sentences prior, let's talk about something I hate, wargaming's implementation of firing from smoke. I thought it was obvious that I was talking about him, but I guess it wasn't. That was really funny to read, too. Some of the comments like, oh my god, this was so hostile. Are you wargaming? Why is it hostile to you? Either way, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.